Hello again, it's Bianca, LotusTheoryDesigns, and today we're going to be talking about how I took this vintage desk and recreated it into a beautiful boho statement piece. Before we get started, here is a before shot of the piece before I started on my finish. I did go ahead and add this WoodUbend applique number 1237. I had an idea of where my design was going to go, and I wanted something in the center of the desk. After all the prep was said and done, which includes priming, cleaning, sanding, not necessarily in that order, I did go ahead and add 2 coats of Dixie Belle's Caviar to the base. Caviar is Dixie Belle's True Black. From there, I am able to start building my finish. I began my finish by adding a little bit of aubergine to the base. That is the dark purple that you see. From there, I start to blend in a little bit of Bunker Hill. That is the blue shade that you see. Let's talk technique. The 2 colors are sharing one brush, and I am using water to lightly mist the paint so that it remains pliable and therefore easy to manipulate and does not pull as I stipple to blend the seams. Stippling is a method of which, instead of stroking on your paint, you tap it on. Once the 2 base colors were blended together, I introduced Flamingo. Flamingo is the peachy color that you see. For this lighter color, I did get a clean brush. You may also notice that I introduced another brush into the mix. This one would be my oval medium, and I am using it to blend the seams of the paint together. In between passes of blending, I do wipe the brush clean onto a clean wet rag. From here, I did introduce Amethyst, which is the purple color that you see, into the piece. I wanted more purple rather than blue. That's the great thing about paint. You can change your mind at any time. I also began to add in a little bit of Peony, which is the pink color that you see. From here, I continue to work on my finish by layering all of the colors and working on the seams with that dedicated blending brush. Once I was satisfied with how my purple and pink tones were laid, I was able to move on to the center of the desk and start to add my yellow tones. The first color that I stipple on is Daisy, which is a nice shade of light yellow. Because I am working with a darker base, it does take a little bit more of that yellow to hide the dark underneath. Once my yellow was saturated enough, I went ahead and added a little bit of Florida Orange to the seam between the yellow and pink tones. I blend that in with a little bit of water and that blending brush. I wanted my yellows to have a little bit more fading, so I added a little bit of lemonade to the center of the piece. From there, I blend it all into my liking, and I can begin on the other side of the piece. The other side is the same technique all over again, just inverted. Watch as I bring the finish together. Once my finish was complete, I did clear coat the piece in entirety. Sealing the piece is going to help me in my next step, which is adding wood grain to the top. Moving on, I'm going to be using Tobacco Road Voodoo Gel Stain, which is a water-based stain, to add the faux wood graining to the top of the piece. The base of the top is coated in Caviar. I drizzle a very generous amount of the gel stain onto the top, add a little bit of water, and using a synthetic mini, I am spreading it around so that it has even coverage. Because Voodoo Gel Stain is water-based, it is safe to add water. Notice how I keep spritzing the top with the water. I need to keep this gel stain wet as I spread it around, and also keep it wet so that when I use the wood graining tool, it glides with ease. Once the gel stain is evenly spread out, I can begin making passes using the wood graining tool. I start at one end of the desk using the wood graining tool and make a pass while rocking the tool up and down. For my next pass, I turn the tool and go the opposite way. This technique definitely takes some practice, but you'll notice as I rock, I begin to create different grain and knot holes in the piece. Next up, the transfer. I am so excited to use this transfer. It was designed by my good friend and fellow brand ambassador, Leah Noel of Leah Noel Design Co. The link to get to know and follow Leah will be in the description. Make sure to go and show her some love. All right, so I did cut out a piece of my transfer and I am positioning it on to see if I like where I have it. I say, yeah, that's gonna work there, and I begin to peel off the protective backing. I am careful in how I handle the transfer at this point because I don't want it to stick to me or anything else. It needs to stick directly to the piece. Once I'm comfortable with how my transfer is positioned, I apply a little bit of pressure so that it sticks to the piece. Once it's on there enough for me to remove my hand, I grab the stick that comes in the transfer tube and rub it on so that it sticks very well before I move on to my next step, which will be to cut it using an X-Acto knife. Though this step is not necessary, I do find it easier to cut the transfer along the seams between the piece and the drawers. In my experience, transfers tend to be easier to apply in smaller pieces. This is going to give me a bit more control of the transfer when I begin to rub and peel off that outer layer. Once I had all of the edges cut, I can begin to use the stick that it comes with to burnish the transfer onto the piece while carefully removing that outer layer as I go. I love the quality of Dixie Belle's transfers because they are thick and durable during this process. However, it is still smart to take your time and rub and peel simultaneously, watching carefully so that you are not lifting up your transfer prematurely and therefore tearing it. Once I was done laying out my transfer, I put 2 more coats of satin clear coat on the base. For my last step, I used Dixie Belle's Gilding Wax in copper to accent the details as well as the lip of the top and the WoodUbend molding. To do this, I am simply using my finger. Once all of my wax was in place, I used a clean rag to buff the surface of the wax. This removes the excess as well as brings it to a brilliant sheen. And here she is in all of her glory. Isn't she pretty? Let's just take a minute to admire this beauty, shall we? As always, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate the time that you spend on my channel, and I do hope that you learned something when you're here. If you did, please use the links in the description to make your purchase for these products. I do get a credit when you do, and it does help to keep this small business alive. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. Thank you, and I will see you next time.